proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure buried in a field, which a person finds and hides again, and out of joy goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant searching for fine pearls. When he finds a pearl of great price, he goes and sells all that he has and buys it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net thrown into the sea, which collects fish of every kind. When it is full, they haul it ashore and sit down to put what is good into buckets. What is bad, they throw away. Thus it will be at the end of the age. The angels will go out and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth." "Do you understand all these things?" They answered, "Yes." And he replied, "Then every scribe who has been instructed in the kingdom of heaven is like the head of a household who brings from his storeroom both the new and the old." The Gospel of the Lord.
Our Gospel passage for this Sunday is taken from St. Matthew. We have been reflecting on the kingdom of God as the top priority of our lives. There are many important, valuable things in our lives, but how do we prioritize? The readings for today suggest that all of these should find their reference point in the kingdom of God as our absolute value and priority. In the first reading from the first book of Kings, Solomon, the new young king, could have asked God for riches, for a bigger territory, for a long life, so that he could have a long reign. But no, he was clear about his mission. He is the king of God's people, Israel. So he asked what was important for his mission: wisdom, an understanding heart, so that he could govern God's people with justice, with fairness. What an admirable young man! At such a tender age, his priorities were correct, and God was pleased with him. In the second reading, St. Paul tells the Romans that our lives, not only as human beings, but as Christians, our lives rest on something fundamental: the calling of God. We are called to belong to Him. We are called to be part of His kingdom. And that should be our priority, the quality of response to that calling, which is love. Love above all else. And all the other things, activities, talents that we possess, all of them will acquire meaning if they are done in love. And through love, we will certainly become vibrant members of the kingdom of God, the priority. Now in the gospel, through parables, Jesus again depicts to us the meaning of the kingdom of God and our participation in such a kingdom. In the first parable, we find the kingdom of God compared to a treasure that is buried in a field, which a person by chance discovers. You know, the kingdom of God is a buried treasure. It is not always obvious. It is not always seen. That's one part of the mystery of the kingdom of God. It is important. It is a treasure, but not always visible. It appears to be buried. That is important so that we will remain humble and we would really search in earnest. Are we searching for the kingdom of God? Are we searching for this treasure? Or are we searching for things that may not be related at all to the kingdom of God? This is important as we develop the theme of prioritizing the kingdom of God. Are we searching for the treasure called the kingdom of God? Or are we pretending that we have already discovered it, that it is obvious, that we see it all the time? No, part of our priority is to keep on actively looking for it, for it may not be seen as easily as we think it is. Our minds, our hearts could be clouded. We need to look for it. Now, look at what the person who discovered it do. He saw it, the buried treasure. He went home and sold everything that he had so that he could buy the whole land. He could buy the whole property with the treasure there. If he is the owner now of the whole lot, then everything, including the buried treasure, now belongs to him. Look at the priority here. Everything else could be sold. Everything else could be released. He could let go of everything. Why? Because now the most important treasure is found. I am not saying that his house, his jewelry are all useless. No. But they now acquire a relative value in reference to the absolute value, which is the kingdom of God. And look at the joy. The joy. This is an important element of prioritizing. How do you know that you have chosen something that you are convinced of as a priority? When you can let go of other things joyfully. Joyfully. Joy is a mark that someone is convinced that the treasure cannot be surpassed. So the other things that I possess, even if they are valuable, could be let go joyfully, calmly, because I am not losing anything in the end. I am gaining the most important treasure. Do we treat the kingdom of God that way? Can we let go of other things? Not because they are useless, but because by letting go of them, I am gaining them back in the kingdom of God. They acquire their real value in relationship to the most important treasure, the kingdom of God. This is the same line of thinking present in the second parable. The pearl of great price. And the merchant who finds it, again, joyfully, freely, sells everything that he possesses in order to acquire the most precious pearl that he has been looking for. My dear brothers and sisters, let me pause here. Is the kingdom of God as commanding as it should be in our minds and our hearts? Will all the other things that we value really in a way pale in comparison to the kingdom of God? Sometimes I tease young people. I ask them, which is more important? No? The kingdom of God or $50 million? They will say $50 million. Wow, but these are young people. Where did they learn that from? Maybe from the adults, telling them that what is more important is money rather than the kingdom of God. Now, this is a journey that we should all undergo. We should learn from Solomon. We should learn from St. Paul. Yes, there is something to give up, but there is so much to gain. You are not really giving up. You are gaining everything from the value, the supreme value of the kingdom of God. And in the end, in the third parable, at the end of time, we will be judged. Who would be counted among those who would belong to the kingdom, and who would be discarded? Well, those who chose the kingdom of God will belong to the kingdom of God. Those who did not find any value in the kingdom of God, probably God will say, well, why will you join us in the kingdom of God when you do not find it as valuable? So the time that we have here on earth is a time of discernment, clarity. Let us set our priorities right. The kingdom of God is of supreme value. All others acquire their value in reference to the kingdom of God. In a few days, we shall be celebrating the feast of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Society of Jesus. Someone who struggled through his own set of priorities. But in the end, after a painful but joyful process of conversion, he was given the light. It is the service of God, loving God and serving God in all, being a humble soldier of Christ the King. This is the supreme good, and all other things could be let go. That's why he can say, "Take and receive, O Lord, all the things that I hold precious, my mind, my liberty, all that I hold, all that I am, I give up, I let go for you. But give me your love. That's enough for me." That's enough. For gaining the love of God, you do not lose anything. You gain everything. The word has been exposed. Let us now fulfill it.